Good morning. If you knew this title ahead of time, good for you for being here. Because we're always talking about, don't judge because people judge you and on, and it could be seen as something that's a real no-no, but actually you'll find out more about it as I talk because it's very interesting. In chapter 10 of Roger Teal's book, This Life is Joy, he begins with a quote from the Bible, Matthew 7:1. It is written, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And within that measure you use, it will be measured unto you." Well, that can be good news or not so good news. It depends. We know that the law of cause and effect is what that is. That's what that means. Judge and you will be judged. Our thoughts, words, and deeds are threads of a net that we throw over ourselves. I like that. That's Swami Vivekananda describing this. The visualization, our thoughts, our words, and deeds are the threads of a net which we throw over ourselves. We know that every action generates a force of energy that returns to us in kind. So whatever energy we're putting out will come back to us. So if you've studied this philosophy very long, one of the questions that comes up is, so why would we negatively judge people if we know it's going to come back to us? And if you look around in society today, it almost seems like it's a habit. It's a real habit, and some of those habits turn into actual hate for other people. How icky is that? Would I want hate coming back to me? Of course not. Of course not. So when we judge others in a negative way, we're actually doing a pretty good number on ourselves. For many people, forming harsh or pessimistic comments or on others or situations can be a life-limiting habit. When that negative energy comes back to us, we can back up. It can limit us, limit our life experience. And sometimes people get a story about how bad things are, and then they keep piling on more, and you can just hear a whole string of things. Roger Teal tells a cute story about an elderly spinster who died, and her instructions on her memorial service were, "I do not want any male pallbearers because they wouldn't take me out when I was alive, and I don't want them taking me out when I'm dead." I just think that's so cute. Talk about judgment. Oh, that's so funny. So Roger has a poem in here, and I thought I would read it because it'll give you a little laugh, but it'll also make you think a little bit. It's called Judge Not. I was shocked, confused, bewildered as I entered heaven's door, not by the beauty of it all, nor the lights or the decor, but it was the folks in heaven who made me sputter and gasp, the thieves, the liars, the sinners, the alcoholics, and the trash. There stood the kid from 7th grade who swiped my lunch money twice. Next to him was my old neighbor who never said anything nice. Herb, who I always thought was rotting in hell by now, was sitting pretty on cloud 9, looking incredibly well. I nudged St. Peter. What's the deal? I would love to hear your take on this. How'd all these sinners get up here? God must have made a mistake, and that's why everyone's so quiet. So somber, so St. Peter, give me a clue. Hush, child, he said. They're all in shock. No one would ever thought they'd be seeing you. I just like that. Oh, gosh. So it reminds me of the importance of examining my own assumptions about other people, my own assumptions, because it's easy to praise or blame others, but unless we know their motivation, we really don't know them at all. So why do we judge? It's natural. Throughout history, our instinct, that judgment, that initial instinct, tells us fight or flight when we don't know what's coming. Our brains are wired to make quick decisions about other people's behavior when we don't know their intention. It helps us when we're moving through the shadows of life to quickly make assumptions to keep ourselves safe. Is it always true? No. But when we can't understand what we're seeing, that's what helps us, that quick judgment. There's a really cute website called Tiny Buddha. And Martina Weiss wrote on that website that we judge for many reasons, and often we do it when we don't know a person very well. We may walk into an event and decide we're going to make, small talk with people, and we're just looking out to see, yeah, that one looks interesting. Well, that one I don't know. And it reminded me of Ram Dass's book, Grist for the Mill, if you've ever read that famous book, great book. He talks, if you're single and you're walking into a party, you likely see everyone in 3 categories: potentially makeable, a competitor with us for someone who's potentially makeable, or a person who's irrelevant. Isn't that interesting? But I can see, as a young single, you're looking around. Potential, competition for my potential, irrelevant. So we create a lot of judgments, and it's before we even know anyone. When we do talk to someone, we can find that we can't identify where their belief system is. We can't identify how they're thinking, so that is another judgment of people. We go into judgment when a person's thoughts are threatening us. They may be saying unkind things to us or looking at us like we're weird or something, so that's another judgment that we perceive. And she wrote about how she used to judge people. I thought this was very interesting. She said, I used to judge people, especially men, when I learned they'd been unfaithful to their girlfriends or their wives. As soon as I would learn about a situation, I'd be resistant, I would have anger, it would build up inside of me, and I'd begin insulting them in my mind. And sometimes when I saw them, I would insult them verbally. Today, I rarely do this. I don't judge someone based on their actions because we all make mistakes. And some people prefer to act in a way that just doesn't fit our mold or our idea of what it should be. I still don't find it appropriate that people cheat on each other, but I stopped letting that define the worth I assign to them. In the past, I also judged women when I felt threatened by those who I perceived to be extremely attractive. Anybody relate to that? Extremely attractive? I compared my body to them because I feared that if I didn't look as hot as they did, it was clear I had low self-esteem. The conversation in my mind went something like this. Oh, look at that girl in the red dress. She is hot. Look at those perfect curves. And look at how she moves. I'm sure she gets a lot of attention from the guys. She's obviously very arrogant. All in one thought process. So the inner chatter made it pretty apparent what was going on inside of me. I began comparing myself to others who were more physically endowed. I decided I couldn't match up, so I judged her and put her down so I could feel better about myself. So what did I do about it? I increased my self-love. It helped me judge a lot less. And now when I have even the urge to judge, in a split second, something says stop. You don't know who they are. Is my judgment really true? How would I really know? Just because someone's attractive doesn't make them arrogant. So today, the continuing question about judgment is why? Sherry Leinfeldner is a life coach, and on her website, she talks about the big question, why? Number one, it's the way we feel about ourselves. Because sometimes we're judging people for the same thing we do. Isn't that interesting? Our judgment of others shows our weaknesses and our insecurities. Next, you do it to make yourself feel better. Sometimes it does make us feel better, but is that really true? She gives a story about a mother with her toddler going into a store, and her little toddler's just being so good. Kisses mom, hugs mom, just being so good. And you turn the aisle in the store, and here's a mother with a toddler screaming, laying on the floor, screaming and crying, and it's just a mess. It's just a mess. And you think, I'm a better mother than that. And then you feel better. The other idea about why is mind programming. She believes we teach our mind to think things and repeat it back to us. So every day when we look in the mirror, if we say, oh my God, I'm so fat, we hear that coming back to us during the day. And so she says, why not look in the mirror and going, wow, am I great? I'm fantastic today. And let that come back to us. I don't know if you go into a doctor's office and they have a rack of magazines. I always pick up People magazine. And do you recognize that's the most well-worn magazine in the doctor's office? Yeah, it is. Because it contains perfect examples where thin and beautiful equals success. And then there's the photos of the stars that have gone downhill a little bit. I've seen those and it just makes me want to cry. Who would want that picture in People magazine of you? But in Hollywood, you are judged by Hollywood standards. And so us in the field go, well, heck, I wear those clothes every day, but in Hollywood style, no, it's a no-no. Another reason why is we often bond with others through our own insecurity. We feel insecure, and so we talk about other people. And in middle and high school, teenagers really go through this a lot. Who's cool, who's not, what's good, what's bad, what do I dress that looks cool, all these questions. Some of them continue those kind of comparisons into adulthood. And when you're talking about someone with someone, have you ever noticed there's a person that will come up and agree with you, and they'll join right in the conversation, give their 2 cents worth. We bond with them. Now, isn't that interesting? We bond with them based upon their negative judgments and our negative judgments. Something to catch ourselves in. We also quickly judge people in the public. People will never know. At a restaurant, a grocery store, we really have no insight to why they dress the way they do, why they're eating what they're eating, why they're saying what they're saying. So our judgment rushes in, and we feel better, but we forgot about karma. We forgot about what goes out comes back. So what can we do to judge less? The first thing to do is realize we're adults. Say, stop it. To ourselves, just say, stop it. We can tell when those little schmoozes of judgment start coming in. We can tell. And we can say, stop it, and replace it with love. Or replace it like Sue does, with a compliment. She compliments everyone she comes in contact with, and it makes you feel better. So why not make people feel better, ignore the dress that isn't appropriate, and say something about the hair. Say something good, find something good. That's called a pattern interrupt. We interrupt our pattern of judgment and look for the good. So here it is, November. Thanksgiving and Christmas and families and parties and all these things coming up. And it's possible that when you go to these events that you'll find someone who's highly judgmental. They want to tell everybody. They can't wait to tell you how bad it is and how smart they are. How do you deal with that? Well, there's a website called Tranquil Monkey. I love these websites. They're so fun. Tranquil Monkey. And Luminita Salviak shares the wisdom of 7 spiritual teachers. You all know these teachers. And so when you come across someone who's highly judgmental, Think about these teachers and maybe even take one of these and remember it. So you can go, well, I read a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, and he said, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you, and you know that. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream of what life's about. When you're immune to the opinions of others, you won't be a victim of needless suffering. Or talk about Thich Nhat Hanh. He said, when another person makes you suffer, it's because they suffer deeply within themselves, and their suffering is spilling over on you, spilling over on you. You can almost feel it like that blanket I was talking about. They don't need punishment, they need help. It's a great opportunity to give them a compliment. Or the Dalai Lama, he says, just embrace compassion, which is another way to offer a compliment. And Lao Tzu said, everyone you come in contact with has something to teach you. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? He says, if you don't understand this, you might get lost because it is a really great secret. I never knew he said that, but I love that. Kahlil Gibran, I've learned silence from the talkative, tolerance from the intolerant, and kindness from the unkind. In other words, get into the habit of expressing your gratitude and appreciation in every interaction, in any way you can. Mahatma Gandhi, we mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are found in the world of our own body. If we could change ourselves, we can change the tendencies in the world. This is the divine mystery supreme. Mahatma Gandhi, this is the divine mystery supreme. In A Course in Miracles, it says, when you meet anyone, remember it's a holy encounter. I love that. As you see them, you will see yourself. As you treat them, you will treat yourself. As you think of them, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in them, you will find yourself or lose yourself. And I'd like to add one last reference for you during the holidays. Ernest Holmes wrote, thoughts of judgment, criticism, and condemnation must in time operate against the one who puts it in motion. Now we know that, cause and effect. There's no doubt that this is necessary for the well-being of society. I never heard him say that. I looked it right up in Science of Mind yesterday. I never heard him say that. This is necessary for the well-being of society, that what we put out, we get back. It's good for our civil laws because they get enforced against the people who seek to destroy our society. But personal condemnation can be entirely eliminated. Personal condemnation can be entirely eliminated. You know, these truths have been known for millennia. And I invite you to think today, perhaps now it's time to take up the challenge and in every moment let our thoughts be solely focused on love. So let's pray about that. I don't know how many times I've read Science of Mind, and I never read that. Oh, it's just a great teaching. So in this moment, I embrace God as love. God created the universe in love. I am love, you are love. It's inherent in each one of us. But as we go through society and our day-to-day experiences, it's our own insecurities that rush to help judge other people so we feel better. But I'm here today to say, you are better. You are whole, perfect, and complete in God's eyes. You were created to be here on this life journey for reasons that you may not even know yet. But it's all for your own perfection It's all for your own personal growth and spiritual development. And I accept that for myself, and I accept it for you. I accept that from today forward, I do the best I can to be love in action. I do the best I can to compliment others. I do the best I can to send out love, not just in order to receive it, but in order to help the whole world see there's another way. I give great thanks for this knowing, this understanding, this truth that guides us here in this center through this philosophy. I give thanks for being able to observe today the new awakening about what judgment means, the good and the bad, and I understand it more. And so it is. Thank you.